Good morning. My name is Miles Sutherland, and I'm a product manager with the mobile team here in Redlands, California. Joining me today is Kerry Somerville, who is also a product manager with the mobile and navigation teams here in Redlands. We want to welcome you all to today's live training seminar. The topic for today is an introduction to ESRI's Mobile GIS solutions. For today's session, we're going to cover three key topics: an overview of Mobile GIS, some considerations for deploying your Mobile GIS, and then we're going to touch on ESRI's Mobile GIS solutions, the purpose of which is to help you select the right solution for your needs. The format for today will consist of a presentation followed by some software demonstrations, and then we're going to finish with a question and answer section at the end. So as you go, if you have any questions, please send them in and we'll do our best to answer them for you at the end of today's presentation. So let's take a look at an overview of Mobile GIS. Firstly, what is a Mobile GIS? Well, you can think of a Mobile GIS as a technology for deploying your GIS capabilities down to a range of different mobile devices. You can use this technology to help people in the field make decisions by using rich GIS maps, be able to navigate through their world, accessing different locations on the maps, being able to collect accurate information using map features, and also being able to maintain and inspect your business data using those maps. You can really think of it as four different key technologies coming together to help make a mobile GIS system successful. The GIS maps and services play a critical role in providing the content and capabilities which can be deployed through the internet, whether it's a wireless internet or a fixed line internet, down to a range of different mobile devices. And lastly, location plays a very critical role in allowing us to use these maps on the devices, not only to locate ourselves within the maps, but also working with the global positioning system to help us collect very accurate spatial information. So why would we look to use a mobile GIS in the field? There's three key areas. One of those is to improve the field productivity of our staff. We do this by providing them with maps, up-to-date maps running on their devices to help them make decisions in the field. It also enables them to be able to view the location of operational data and real-time information on top of their base maps out on the field. And finally, they can route and navigate around the real world using these maps. All of these capabilities help them be more productive in the field. It also enables us to maintain our operational data. You can use a mobile GIS to inspect attributes or descriptive information about assets in the field. You can collect accurate spatial locations about new objects, or perhaps you can use it to capture and record information about different types of observations or events that have occurred. It also plays a critical role in facilitating the operational awareness within your organization. And this is done by being able to share information between the field and the office. Not only being able to share real-time locations of the field workers, but also being able to sync up field edits, descriptive information, features, and any types of attachments back to the office to help decision makers. So now let's take a look at some of the different considerations for using a mobile GIS. And working with a number of our customers, there's a common set of questions that come up. And so for this morning's session, we're going to step through some of these questions and help you understand the different types of considerations to think about when it comes to selecting the right solution. So ask yourself these types of questions. What do my field workers need to do? What are the tasks that they perform in the field? How complex are they? How many field workers do I actually have in the field? Is it myself going to the field, or do I have to support a large group of field workers? Maybe it's 100 workers, maybe it's 1,000 workers. What sorts of existing technology do I have in place? What devices do I have already within my organization, perhaps that I could leverage? What are my existing business or information systems? Can I improve on existing paper-based systems, or do I need to integrate with other enterprise systems? And finally, what are the capabilities or resources that I have to help me be successful in deploying my mobile GIS? So let's take some time now to work through some of these questions. What do my field workers need to do? This is an extremely important question to ask yourself. And there's a number of different tasks that you can use a mobile GIS for in the field. One of the most common is to accurately locate new assets. One of the best ways to do this is to deploy a GPS solution to the field, perhaps a solution that provides up to sub-meter or sub-foot accuracy and is integrated tightly with a number of the professional GPS devices and post-processing solutions in the market. A second use is to inspect the condition of existing assets. This is more of a workforce automation type workflow. And for this type of workflow, it's important to be leveraging a mobile mapping tool that's really designed for non-GIS trained field workers. You can think of this as an intuitive type of application where the maps really play a role of providing a geo-enabled application. There are also a number of field workers who need to sketch out or plan or design on a specific site. And for this, you want to look to leverage a tablet experience with a rich set of geographic design tools that let them sketch out the information that they see on the site and then share it with others to help them make decisions when it comes to planning the use of that site. One of the growing areas is now the access to maps online from anywhere at any time. This is really a location-based services type of application or use case for your field workers. This may be with executives or perhaps even supporting consumers and citizens working on a broad range of different types of mobile devices. And lastly, perhaps your field workers need to deliver packages to customers or be able to navigate really quickly to their different work locations. And this is where you will look to deploy an in-car or in-cab navigation system that can support these types of use cases. Okay, so now let's take a look at a second question, which is how many field workers do I have? A lot of different mobile GIS tools are designed for use by GIS analysts in the field, or perhaps it's a designer in the field. These require a certain amount of training and often are deployed by individuals or small work groups. You can think of these as standalone softwares that are designed to work with a desktop PC and help you sync data out. They're extremely powerful and easy to use if you're an expert in using the entire system yourself. When it comes to deploying to support large numbers of inspectors, or responders, or even delivery staff in the field, these can be very large teams that operate as part of an operations group within a larger organization. This has a different set of requirements in how you would support this type of deployment. And typically these staff want to use a simple tool that helps them be more effective in their day-to-day work. This type of system, you really need to look at something that's server-centric that helps you manage and deploy to support a large number of field workers. The third area is supporting consumers or citizens, or perhaps even executives inside your organization who want to get access to the latest information on any of their mobile devices. Potentially, this could be a very large deployment, possibly even an unknown number of end users. This is definitely where you want to look to leverage online or server-based GIS to deploy very focused applications that are accessible through the web, either on the browsers or through native applications designed for the specific devices that your consumers and citizens are going to be using. The third question you want to ask yourself is, what existing technology do I already have in place? In particular, do I have any existing devices? And if so, what types of those devices do I have in use already? When you're thinking about deployments, supporting GIS analysts in the field, or perhaps your domain experts doing inspection or responding type use cases, we see a lot of Windows-based devices being used within that enterprise scenario. And these devices come in many different shapes and sizes. Firstly, we see a lot of Windows laptops and tablets. These are devices running Windows XP or Vista, or even now the Windows 7 operating system. They're extremely powerful devices, but they're heavy. They're something that you're going to want to use in a vehicle-based deployment where you have an external power source. These are great for providing very rich GIS capabilities and maps, especially for someone who's working in a nomadic type of workflow where they're driving to each of the assets or perhaps work locations, and then can interact with the GIS software running on these types of mobile devices when they're sitting inside their vehicle. We also see a use of a number of Windows phones or handheld devices. In comparison to the laptops and tablets, these types of devices are very lightweight, but limited in capability when compared to the full desktop operating system running on the laptops and tablets. One of the great things about these devices is that they're extremely mobile. They come with all-day batteries, especially the non-stock devices that are designed to be rugged and really support true outdoor use cases. These are ideal for foot-based types of deployments. The fourth question you need to understand is, what are my existing business systems or information systems that I'm looking to improve upon or perhaps integrate with? There are a lot of different paper-based systems and table-based systems already in place, where customers are using forms, cards, or even map books to take their GIS information out to the field. We also see a number of folks using spreadsheets on laptops and tablets, supporting the input of very unstructured data. When you're thinking about these systems, you can leverage a mobile GIS to help improve upon them by providing more intuitive forms that allow field workers to enter much more structured data with more accurate spatial information. A lot of you are already probably familiar with ESRI's technology and are working with our geodatabase systems. Perhaps you're using shapefiles in the field already, or perhaps you're using a full geodatabase to manage your data models back in the office. When it comes to deploying a mobile GIS, one of the things that we recommend is that you look to configure or tune your geodatabase models to support the field use cases. For example, you can make some small adjustments to collect important information from the field that helps you understand the performance of the field teams. Perhaps you want to collect simple information about who the inspector was in the field, or what date and time they performed an inspection or collected a new piece of information using their mobile GIS tool. When you're using these types of data models in the field, you can think of them as very much geocentric mobile applications, where the GIS drives the end experience for that user. You may be in a situation where you have a large number of other enterprise systems that you need to integrate with. Perhaps you're a large utility and you need to integrate with other asset management systems. Or maybe you're in a public safety scenario where you need to integrate with a computer-aided dispatch system to get real-time information about incidents on the maps. Often these can require custom integration and specific workflows defined to meet the field workers' needs. You can think of these as custom or geo-enabled applications, where the mobile GIS capabilities are being integrated into an existing enterprise system. The fifth question you need to understand: what are the capabilities that you have or the resources that you have to help you be successful in deploying your mobile GIS? For example, do you have the operations staff to plan and manage the system? This is a critical part, especially if you're looking to deploy and support large numbers of field workers. Do I have trained GIS analysts that can help me configure and set up my maps? When you're thinking of deploying for a mobile GIS, one of the key steps is to be able to tune or configure those maps and geodatabase models to meet the needs of a field worker. Perhaps you need to simplify the maps that are going to go to the field, create maps with high contrast that are easy to see under different conditions, or even tune the geodatabase to meet the needs of the type of information that your business managers need to get from the field. If you're deploying to to the field to support a large number of field workers, you also need to consider what sort of support staff you have in place to help resolve issues for those field workers. Especially if they're using devices in a foot-based scenario, perhaps they're going to drop a device or perhaps lose a device. It's important to understand how you're going to manage the GIS data in that situation. Are you able to get the information back off a device that's been broken? Or are you able to get a new device that's already provisioned and set up with the tools and the data so the field worker can continue to be efficient and performant in their tasks? If you're looking to deploy a solution to the field that needs some form of customization, perhaps you need a specific tool added to an existing solution, or perhaps you need a very focused solution built from the ground up. You need to understand what sort of development capabilities you have in-house and how it relates to the type of solution you're going to deploy. Many of our different tools provide a range of different options, from scripting and customizing the user experience, right through to having software development kits where you can build your own custom solutions. And finally, once you're up and running and operational, do you have the processes in place to help you use the data, perhaps make decisions from it in a situational awareness scenario, or even to help you incorporate a feedback loop to improve the system and make the field workers even more efficient? This is a critical step to helping you successfully deploy your mobile GIS. When it comes to thinking about the different resources that you have inside your organization, traditionally we're very familiar with working with GIS experts, but it's also important to think about how the GIS tools are going to be used by different types of business users within your organization. For example, when we think of different types of field workers, we're traditionally used to working with GIS or GPS data collectors who are continually performing field mapping and GPS work. These folk are often very well trained and quite independent in how they do their field work. In comparison to that, now that we're looking to support responders and inspectors with geographic information in the field, they're looking for tools that help them be more efficient in their job. This places different demands on you when it comes to supporting them. Perhaps it's coming up with very simple and intuitive user experiences, designing easier to understand maps, or just supporting them in their day-to-day work and understanding how the information that they're collecting is feeding back into the organization. The same is true on the management side of a system. Many of us are GIS analysts and are used to designing geodatabases or creating maps or configuring web services. We also now need to consider who the operations managers are in these larger types of deployments. A lot of our system is designed to help support not only the GIS analyst now, but also an operations manager who may just want to create very simple projects from existing map resources and deploy them to their own field teams. And lastly, when it comes to the development side, there's two different types of user that we see. Those that need to build a specific solution, often well trained in GIS. Perhaps they're building from a software development kit from the ground up. And those that just need to customize an existing solution. Perhaps this is a business type developer who's been asked to extend the GIS. We have a range of different tools to support both of these different types of users. Okay, so that was just a quick overview and then a look at some of the considerations for your mobile GIS. Now we're going to step through each of ESRI's mobile GIS solutions. To do this, we're going to provide you some context around the ideal use cases for using each of these solutions. As you can see on the matrix here, we have each of the different solutions from ESRI, which we're going to step through individually and help position with them for each of the different use cases. For example, mapping and data collection, workforce automation, logistics and navigation, field editing and design, and finally location-based services. So let's start with ArcPad. ArcPad's an application that's been built by ESRI. It's a very mature application, and it's really designed for use in mapping in GIS and GPS data collection workflows. So we position it as really being an ideal application to support that type of use. It's important to understand, though, that you can also use it in some of these other use cases, perhaps with some simple customization. So now I'm going to hand over to Kerry Somerville, who's going to provide to us a demonstration on ArcPad.
Thank you, Miles. We're going to take a look at ArcPad, which is an easy-to-use, out-of-the-box solution. Does not require customization or developers to start using this product. What we have here is a simple scenario where we have set up a project in our office, and we're going to have someone go out and do tree inspection work. Some of the things that I would like to show you before we begin our inspection is if our worker goes out and finds that he needs additional data to do his work, there's some easy ways to do this. If he has information on his hard drive, he can simply add a layer of information, or he can actually connect to the server back in the office and add data from the server. He's also able to synchronize that data back with the server as he does his work. ArcPad also has a very easy to use table of contents where a worker can go in, make different layers editable, get information on them, and control the labels and snapping provisions that he might be using during his work. In our scenario today, we also want to be able to know where our workers are and be able to collect data from a GPS position. So we have a simulated GPS log that we're going to use, and first we're going to activate our GPS. When we turn our GPS on, you'll note that at the bottom of the screen, the GPS coordinates and position along with the signal strength meter shows up so that we always know where we're at and what our position is. Now we're ready to begin our tree inspection work. First of all, we want to locate the information that we need. So we're going to go to our toolbar and we'll use our Find Features, and we'll simply type in the street that we're going to go to. You'll note that it comes up with a list of all of the locations on that street. We can select a location and zoom to that location, and it immediately takes us to that location. Well, what you see on the screen, first of all, is the red here is our current location fixed by the GPS. Here you can see the tree that we queried for. Now we may need to do some editing on that tree and that location. We'll simply take our Select tool, and by double-clicking on that location, it brings up a form that has been created to do our inspections. ArcPad has an easy-to-use form builder where you can create forms that will be custom to your workflow. As we look at this information, we might notice that the tree is, maybe somebody has misentered the information, and this is actually a different type of tree. So we could change that information very easily. We also can scroll over and look at attributes of the tree, or even change the pictures of the tree. We can do this by selecting trees that we may have photos on our hard drive, or if we have a device that has photography capability, we can actually take a photo and add it that way. Now let's say that as we're out there working, we also notice that there's a new tree that has never been identified before. We can also add that very simply by coming over here to Capture Point. The Capture Point tool actually captures the point of where we're currently standing. So when we click that tool, we immediately get, again, our form where we can go in and enter the data and make the edits that we need to for this particular location. So again, ArcPad is a very simple, out-of-the-box, easy-to-use program that's very powerful to help you collect and edit data. Miles?
Thanks, Gary. Just going to switch back to the presentation now. So just to recap on some of the points that Kerry covered there, ArcPad is a a mobile GIS software from ESRI. It's designed for mapping and GPS data collection workflows. When you think about how you use ArcPad, it's really designed to connect with ArcGIS Desktop and enable you to edit the geodatabase. It's used by GIS analysts in the field. It provides a very familiar ArcGIS user experience and provides a comprehensive set of GIS editing and analysis tools. When it comes to capturing extremely accurate information, a number of our partners provide sub-foot GPS solutions. When you think about the different types of devices that you need to support ArcPad in the field, it's designed specifically for the Windows operating systems. So Windows 7, Windows Vista or XP, and also Windows Mobile. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our next solution, which is ArcGIS Mobile technology. ArcGIS Mobile is designed as part of the ArcGIS server system. ArcGIS Mobile's use case is really ideal supporting workforce automation types of deployments. It's designed to be server-centric, allow you to deploy very simple projects down to large numbers of field workers. You can use it for a number of the other use cases, such as the mapping and GIS data collection, or even the field editing and design through our SDK. So now I'm just going to provide a quick introduction and demonstration of the ArcGIS Mobile technology. So one of the first things that you'll notice about ArcGIS Mobile is that it's packaged with ArcGIS Server. So one of the key steps to being successful with ArcGIS Mobile is to set up your ArcGIS server and publish your map resources for access on mobile devices. And this is done in a familiar experience of publishing any traditional map service. You just need to enable mobile data access. Once you have that set up, then you work directly with the ArcGIS Server Manager, which you can see here on the screen, to create your field projects. Once you've created your field projects, you can then publish them to the server so they're accessible directly on the mobile device. Here in the browser now, you can see an example of this, where it's a mobile web page that you can access directly on the device. I have up now with me a Windows mobile emulator, and you can see the exact same view of the ArcGIS Mobile download page, which includes not only access to the projects themselves, but also the application. This makes it extremely easy for you to deploy and provision the application directly from the server down to large numbers of devices in the field. So let's take a look at the ArcGIS Mobile application. The application itself is task-based. It's designed to be descriptive and extremely intuitive to use. You can see here we provide a key set of tasks out of the box, the ability to view maps, to collect new features, to be able to search for features within the map, to maintain and manage your own work list on the device, to be able to synchronize and connect with the ArcGIS server, and to be able to view the status of the GPS in the network and other information about the application and your device. So let's take a quick look at the map. You can see here we have a very simple street map for our base, and then some operational data here for our signs. I'm just going to switch back to the browser so you can see we have the exact same map here as part of ArcGIS Server, which is being viewed with the JavaScript API. One of the great things about ArcGIS Mobile is that you can use it to manage the different types of work that you need to perform in the field. And one of the ways I do this is to run a very simple search. So within my map here, I'm going to work with my palette of feature types. This is being driven by the map document that you've published. And I'm going to go and find all the stop signs that are assigned to me. First thing I want to do is go and set my search area to the entire map. And then I'm going to run a quick search on the inspector field that's been set up in my geodatabase. In this case, I'm looking for everything assigned to Greg Chappell. You can see here the application runs a quick search within the data that's been cached on the device, and it's found 4 stop signs with my name assigned to be the inspector. One of the next steps I can perform is to go and add this entire list to my work list. It's from this work list that I can go and manage the inspections, or the editing of the attributes, or the deletion of those features. So here's my work list, and I can quickly access different information about the features. I could browse it on the map, so I can quickly go and find and navigate to that feature. I could also go and view its attributes, edit its attributes, or delete the feature. So let's go in here and edit the attributes of this sign, because in our field work, we've discovered that its condition is actually like new. So someone's been out and actually replaced the sign. So I quickly update the form using a drop-down list, and now you see that the work list has been updated to reflect that the stop sign was modified. While I was out in the field, I also noticed across the other side of the road that there was a sign that was physically located there, but that did not belong in my map. So I'm going to go collect the location of that. Again, here we're presented with the feature type palette, and I can select the stop sign and then choose to locate it on the map. One of the great things about ArcGIS Mobile, it's very simple to use with these menus, and I can choose to either collect it with the stylus or perhaps average using the GPS, or even enter the XY coordinate if I had that with me. In this case, we're just going to use the stylus and accept its location. I'm presented now with a very simple attribute form that I can fill out. And this form's been driven by the geodatabase and the map document I've published, and also the field project that I've created. So I have a number of text fields here where I'm going to enter the sign ID and the pole ID. I also have these simple to use pick lists, which are being driven by the domains that I've set up in my geodatabase, which make it extremely easy for the field worker to collect information without having to type in on the keyboard on the mobile device. I complete the form and I hit finish. So I've now created this new feature that's stored in the cache on my device. I can also go and repeat this task very simply, or I could go back and work with a different task within the software. In this case, since I've made an edit and I've captured a new feature, I may want to go and synchronize with the server. And so this is where I'm using the synchronize task to view the edits of new features that have been created or features that have been modified. And it's from this location here that I can choose to post these updates to the server. This posting process can occur over any internet connection, whether it's directly through ActiveSync when the device is docked in the office, or perhaps over the wireless in the field using a GPRS or Edge connection through your cellular data connection. Okay, so that was just a quick demonstration of ArcGIS Mobile. And now I'm just going to recap on that. So ArcGIS Mobile, when you think of it as a solution, is really built for workforce automation. It's designed to be very simple to use. It's ideal for field inspectors and observers, as its task-based user experience. It requires minimal training to get up and running. And one of the great things about it is you can access these projects remotely. It supports editing of the geodatabase directly with ArcGIS Server through the Mobile Data Web Service. It also can deploy to a range of different Windows devices. The demonstration I showed you was of the out-of-the-box ArcGIS mobile application that we've included with ArcGIS Server. This application is designed specifically for the Windows mobile devices. This is an important point to remember. If you need to deploy to other types of devices within your organization, such as tablets or laptops, then we also provide a software development kit where you can build your own custom solutions using .NET to deploy across all of the Windows devices. Okay, so the third solution we're going to take a look at today is the Arc Logistics Navigator. This is a routing and navigation solution from ESRI. It's an extremely focused solution. So when we think of its use case, it's really designed for one thing in mind, and that's logistics and navigation. I'm just going to hand over to Kerry Somerville again, who's going to provide us a demonstration on using the Arc Logistics Navigator.
Thank you, Miles. As Miles mentioned, ArcLogistics Navigator is a very focused solution. It's designed to help your workers find the locations they need to go to, whether they're driving a truck, making deliveries, or in the examples that we have shown today, both in ArcGIS Mobile and ArcPad, maybe helping the worker find the place that they need to collect data and do their work. We're going to take a look at ArcLogistics Navigator, and first we're going to go to the menu and talk about how do our workers find those locations. How does that happen? First of all, it's important to understand that ArcLogistics Navigator has been designed to specifically work with ESRI products. Our routing products, where you can, for example, if you have created plans in ArcLogistics, you can send those plans directly to Navigator via email or server synchronization or syncing through something like ActiveSync, where Navigator will follow the exact plan that has been created. Or a worker may enter his own destinations. If I go to the Destinations menu, I can add destinations in a variety of ways. You'll note that we have favorites, history, addresses, pick on map, and other ways to enter addresses. We're going to enter a couple of addresses. First of all, I'm going to go to favorites. Now, favorites is where you can actually enter your own addresses and store them. So we'll select one from the favorites. And now let's go back and let's add the address from earlier where our tree inspector had to do his inspection. First of all, we'll identify the state or province, and then the city where we're doing our work. And you'll note that the keyboard changes as we're entering keys to make it easier for our workers to identify things. Our worker was out on Center Street, if you remember, and we can select that from a list and then simply enter the address number of where he's going to. We've now added that stop. Let's add one more stop, and this time we'll pick this stop from our history. The history file maintains a history of the last 100 locations that we have been to, so you can select from that. Also note that in the Destinations menu, if our worker needs to reorder this, he can do so by simply selecting and moving it up or down. He could also delete locations or add additional locations if he needed to. From there, he simply hits the Navigate button, and it creates the route for him with audible turn-by-turn instructions. We have a number
Turn right,
of
followed by turn right.
We have a number of different views, and you'll note that as we go through this demonstration, you'll also hear some of the voice directions as well.
Turn right.
I'm going to pause our simulation just for a moment and show you some of the different views that we have. First of all, I can look at this in the 3D mode that you see here, or a 2D mode, which is more of an aerial type view. We can also look at a driver's entire route for the day. So if he has multiple stops, he can look at his entire route and see where it is that he's going. We also have just a simple turn directions view, which just gives him
In
the driver
1.6
directions.
miles, turn right on West Crescent Avenue.
Gives him the turn directions and the distance that he has for each one. One other view that we have is what we call the expanded turn maneuver view, which gives him his next maneuver and the next two after that. So if he's driving a large truck, for example, and he has a left turn right after making a right, he can see that and know to set up for that turn. Let's go back to the menu and look at a couple of the settings that are important to understand in ArcLogistics Navigator and why it's designed specifically for the logistics market and working with the workflow for your people in the field. First of all, you can set up ArcLogistics Navigator with certain restrictions specific to your workers. For example, if I have a truck that has a very tall load or has certain weight restrictions, we can go into our restrictions and set those so that our drivers, when it creates the route, avoid those things. For example, if I wanted to avoid toll roads, I could set that and it would avoid toll roads. We also have the ability to change some of the settings in routing. If, for example, you are sending information from a program like ArcLogistics or Network Analyst to your mobile device, we can preserve the order that those stops are coming in. Or if a worker is out in the field and needs to optimize, he can change that and do some actual optimization out in the field. He can also set things like U-turns and quickest or shortest routes. ArcLogistics Navigator also has a remote control API that allows you to do some customization from other programs, as well as a configurable user interface that will allow you to customize the experience your workers have out in the field. Miles?
Thanks, Gary. That was a great demonstration of the ArcLogistics Navigator. So just to recap some of the points that Kerry made there, it's pretty clear that ArcLogistics Navigator is designed for the navigation market and use in the enterprise scenarios. It's designed to work with ArcLogistics Desktop to download the stops directly to the device, or perhaps through ArcGIS Server using the network service, or even by sharing those stops through an email system. It comes preloaded with the street data sets, and it provides a familiar in-car navigation experience. When you're thinking about the different types of devices to deploy to, ArcLogistics Navigator is designed to support the laptops and tablets, so Windows 7, Vista, and XP operating systems, and the Windows mobile, handhelds, and phones. Okay, so now we're just going to change tact a little bit and take a look at a couple of the SDKs that we provide that you can build your own custom solutions for use in the field. The first here is going to be ArcGIS Engine, which is ESRI's full GIS toolbox for building your own powerful GIS applications to run on mobile devices. When we think of what our customers and partners have been building, its ideal use case is really for field editing and design. You can also develop other applications that support many of the other use cases. ArcGIS Engine is a software development kit, so it's ideal for application developers who need to develop using .NET, C++, or Java, and allows you to create very focused user experiences. One of the great things about ArcGIS Engine is that you can build powerful GIS applications that work with the geodatabase directly on the device. So you can deal with some of the most complex geographic information on the laptop or tablet. On the screen here, we have a nice screenshot of an application that's been built by one of our partners, TC Technology, the GoSync Mobile GIS solution. And you can see it has a very simple and easy to use user experience supporting redlining and sketching on their base maps. ArcGIS Engine applications are designed to work on Windows devices such as the laptops and tablets, so Windows 7, Vista, or XP operating systems. We also provide another type of technology that can support mobile use cases, and this is the ArcGIS Web Mapping APIs. These are the APIs you're probably familiar with for building web mapping applications to run on desktop PCs that work directly with ArcGIS Server or ArcGIS Online. You can also look to leverage these APIs to develop mobile applications that support location-based services type of deployments. The ArcGIS Web Mapping APIs are accessible for developers through either web services, so working with SOAP or REST web services to build your own native applications that might run on an iPhone from Apple, a BlackBerry from RIM, or even a Nokia or Microsoft device. You could also build web applications that target some of the mobile browsers. This is definitely one of the most complex areas of the technology, as not all the browsers are powerful enough to support the capabilities provided by some of our APIs. For example, you could go and build a very simple and easy to use web application that targets the Apple iPhone Safari browser using our JavaScript APIs. An example of this is from our partner TDC Group, who have built the Freelance mobile application, which runs specifically on the RIM BlackBerry devices and works directly with ArcGIS Server and online. These type of applications are ideal for use by either executives inside your organization who are hungry for new information, or perhaps in supporting your consumers or citizens that want to be able to view maps in a local or state government situation, or even get up-to-date information about your enterprise mapping information. So we're getting close to the end of our session. We're now going to quickly recap and then go through a number of different questions and hopefully provide you some answers. So in today's session, we've covered an overview of mobile GIS. We've touched on some of the considerations to help you determine the best solution to meet your needs. And we've presented to you some of ESRI's mobile GIS solutions and their ideal use cases. So now I'm going to hand over to Kerry because we have a large number of questions coming in from you. If you have any questions that you haven't sent in right now you'd like us to answer, this would be a great time to get them in. Kerry.
Thanks, Miles. We do have a number of questions here, and we'll try and work through as many of them as we can. One of the first questions comes from Gainesville, and the question was, how does ArcLogistics Navigator differ from Network Analyst? Network Analyst is really your desktop or server planning tool that would plan a route, whereas ArcLogistics Navigator is the in-vehicle device that a driver would use to guide him along that route. You can think of ArcLogistics Navigator much as you would a commercial navigation device, except for Navigator is designed specifically to follow workflows and planned routes from ESRI routing products. Here's another question about Navigator. It says, how many languages are available on ArcLogistics Navigator? Currently, ArcLogistics Navigator comes with 4 languages out of the box: English, Spanish, French, and German. But there's also a localization kit available for Navigator to localize it to other languages. We have a couple of other questions here we'll cover. Here's one on ArcPad. Grant in Cincinnati wants to know what version of ArcPad was used in the demonstration. This was version 8.0, the latest release of ArcPad. There's also a question about ArcPad from Hardik in Mumbai, and he wants to know, is ArcPad a freeware program? The answer is no, it's not a freeware program. It can be obtained through your local ESRI distributors or authorized business partners. There's a few mobile questions here. Miles, do you want to take some of these mobile application questions?
Sure, thanks, Kerry. So I have a question here from Daniel, which reads, does ArcGIS Mobile run on devices other than those with Microsoft software, i.e. can it be used on my Motorola or iPhone smartphones running the Android operating system? That's a great question. So ArcGIS Mobile is designed specifically to run on the Microsoft Windows Mobile operating system. That's for the out-of-the-box application. The software development kit, if you're going to build your own custom solution, supports the .NET development environment. So that means you can deploy to Windows tablets and laptops if you're using the full .NET framework, or down to the Windows mobile devices if you're working with the Compact framework. We also announced at the user conference this year in San Diego that ESRI is going to be supporting the iPhone with an application. And that's something that we're working on currently, so look for that in the upcoming 9.4 release. And we've also been receiving a number of questions about supporting the Android operating system. That's definitely something that we're going to be investigating and would hope to support in the future. I have another question here from Jose regarding what type of data sync is supported from the field. What type of network can be used? We have a GSM and CDMA network. Will both of them work? That's a great question. So ArcGIS Mobile is designed to work with an ArcGIS server map service, specifically the mobile data service. This is a SOAP or binary web service, which means that you can access it over a TCP network. So for example, if you're working on a GSM or CDMA type of device, which has the cellular connections built into it that support data services, then you will be able to access that web service, which means that you can actually pull data and cache it on the device locally over that network, or you can collect new information and sync it back. It's important to not forget that this technology is also designed to work over an active sync connection. So if you have devices that don't have a GSM or CDMA radio inside them, you can also dock the device back in the office and get access to the network and the server, or perhaps even work through a Wi-Fi connection in the office as well. There's a question from Ed in Cambridge, which reads, in your product matrix, you did not mention ArcGIS Desktop. Does this mean you do not consider ArcGIS Desktop running on a tablet PC, a mobile solution? So we didn't cover ArcGIS Desktop in this session today because it really is a software that's designed for GIS analysts to use in the office to help them create their maps and geodatabases and interact with their server. With ArcGIS Desktop, one of the key things about it is the user experience is designed to be used with a pointer or a mouse to interact with it. This isn't necessarily ideal for workflows in the field. However, because it's an application that can run on the full Windows operating systems, you can take it to the field and run it on a tablet or a laptop. And in fact, there are a couple of key extensions to it, the GPS support and also the tablet inking support, that do make it a little bit more usable in the field. So to answer your question, yes, we do consider it a tool you can use in the field, although perhaps it's not the ideal one. And that's why we presented ArcGIS Engine, which provides similar capabilities that our partners or customers can build custom solutions that are much easier to use in the field.
Thanks, Miles. There's a few more questions here concerning Navigator and Network Analyst that I will take. One of the questions is from Abhishek in Singapore. He wants to know, how is ArcLogistics different from the Network Analyst extension of ArcGIS Server? ArcLogistics is really a complete application that is ready to use for workers right out of the box. And it has the rules and logic built into it for people to just start using it to route vehicles with their loads and their workers. Whereas Network Analyst is a set of tools that, yes, can do routing and has a VRP solver so that you can solve very complex problems, but is not, I guess, have a user interface that lends to your workers just using it right out of the box. We also have a question from Martin. He wants to know, is it possible to use the ArcLogistics Navigator with European street data and address formats, and will it be possible to use other languages? As I mentioned earlier, yes, there is a localization kit. It can be used with other languages. And we also do have European street data available both from TeleAtlas and Navtech to use in ArcLogistics Navigator. And then from Gainesville, we have a question that says, can the worker who is collecting pavement data enter a mile marker for destination instead of a physical address? And this is concerning ArcLogistics Navigator. Although they may not be able to enter a mile marker, they would be able to just view the map and select on the map a physical location that it would navigate to, as opposed to entering a physical address. That is certainly possible. There's also a question, Charles from New York, that says, is there any way to collect text information, for example, a description of vandalism to the sign? Yes, in both ArcPad and mobile, you can do this. Miles, would you like to take a couple more of these?
Yeah, in fact, Kerry, I might just add a little bit more to that question from Charles. I think one of the great things about ESRI's mobile GIS technologies is that they're built to work with the geodatabase. So we support many of the different types of fields that you can build into your geodatabase. So if you have a text field in your geodatabase, it's accessible and can be edited, and information can be collected with it directly within the attributes form as part of ArcPad or ArcGIS Mobile, or even an ArcGIS Desktop or Engine application in the field. I have a question here from in Orlando, which reads, is an ArcGIS Mobile API for Google Maps for mobile a possibility in the future, sort of like an ArcGIS JavaScript API for Google Maps? In fact, that's a really interesting question. I think today the ArcGIS mobile technology is being built to work directly with ArcGIS Server. Moving forward, though, our vision for this technology is that we want to be able to integrate with many other types of base maps, whether they're local base maps running on the device, or perhaps base maps that are available from online. So one of the things that you'll see from us in the future is the ability to connect to many other online base maps, such as ArcGIS Online. One of the things that you can do with the software development kit today is actually write your own custom layers. And it is possible to write your own custom layers that would work with other online map services, such as the Google Maps or Bing Maps or ArcGIS Online as well. As for creating an ArcGIS mobile extender for the Google Maps for mobile, that isn't something that we've discussed, but a very interesting idea. I have a question here from Ken. Does ArcGIS Mobile have the capability of ArcPad, or do they work together? Okay, so ArcPad and ArcGIS Mobile are definitely different types of technologies. They are designed, however, to work together through the geodatabase. So if you think about an organization who has some GIS analysts who are managing, creating the GIS, and has an operations team that are responsible for maintaining their assets, you can look to use ArcPad and say a sub-meter device to go to the field and capture the accurate locations of those assets using a GIS trained person in the field. That information that's being captured is then checked in and available within the geodatabase. The same information, that geodatabase, can be published in maps that are accessible through ArcGIS Mobile for the operations field staff to go out and maintain the descriptive or conditional information about those assets. So yes, they can work together. They don't exactly have the same capabilities on the client applications. They do share some commonality, for example, being able to view the GIS maps that have vector and annotation and raster layers in them, be able to capture and edit GIS data. But you can see the user experience from what we demonstrated is very different, and they target different types of users in the field. I have a question here from Ryan and Tempe. Could you describe the network requirements, 3G, etc., required to use ArcGIS Mobile? So the ArcGIS Mobile technology is designed to support a broad range of different types of network scenarios. Provided you have a TCP connection, you can get access to the ArcGIS Server mobile web service. But when you're thinking about the different types of data that you're going to be syncing out to the device or posting back from the device to the server, there are different types of requirements. For example, if you're looking to deploy an application where you need large amounts of data to reside on the device, it makes a lot of sense to use our geoprocessing tools to extract that data and provision the devices with the data in the office. This enables the person in the field to be able to collect just small edits of information and then synchronize it back over the cellular data connection from the field. If you're looking to have your field workers actually download and access the server data when they're in the field over the GSM network, for example, then you're really going to look to optimize those maps and the amount of data that's going to be downloaded. Although it is possible to do that, you definitely want to consider the different types of data that you're going to download. For example, getting access to the vector data is definitely possible. You can also download the raster data, although we would really recommend that you consider provisioning the device with the data in the office first. So there's a lot of great questions there, and hopefully we provided some answers to those to help you understand what's the right selection or the right solution to use for your ideal use case. Before we go, I'd like to point you to some additional resources. On the screen right now, we have some information that you can access online about each of the different products. You can go to the product pages, which are hosted at esri.com, or you can also go to the resource centers, which provide detailed product information about using the technologies at resources.esri.com. Your comments help us improve our seminars. Please take a moment to complete our survey. Just click the Give Us Feedback link to take the survey. We hope you enjoyed today's seminar. On behalf of ESRI, I'd like to thank you all for attending.